edition of The Ripple Effect. I'm Jessica Ausbrook from Solidarity Community Federal Credit Union, along with our friend Eddie from the Kokomo Humane Society. Welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me today.
We're super happy to have you here because who doesn't like to talk about pets and animals and, of course, rescuing them?
Right. I mean, try and stop me from talking about it. I mean, sometimes I can get going and I hear myself in my inner monologue saying, shut up. These people don't want to hear this anymore.
This is why you're here, is so you can just continually talk about it because we want to know what is happening at the Kokomo Humane Society. We went through this big process. Gosh, it's been in the last decade where we fundraised for this fantastic new facility.
Mm-hmm.
So how's it going there?
It is going great. It's like an ever evolving beast. It is not the same thing that was like I've been there. September will be 18 years since I've been with the animal shelter, and it is not the same. It's not even the same realm as when I started. As far as just like, adoptions, intake, what we can offer to the public has changed so much. We used to be a very just we were housing animals until we either found them homes. Or other alternatives, things like that. And now we actually have programs where we are offering now public spay neuter at a very reduced price.
That's great.
There is definitely a vacuum of that in Kokomo. When we lost our low cost spay neuter clinic a couple years ago, we started getting calls, and luckily we've got a small surgery suite attached to the shelter. And we've got a lot of great vets that we're partnering with that are coming in and doing surgeries. And we're now able to offer that to the public.
Great.
So we do have a couple week wait. So when you call in, we'll get you signed up and everything. And it might be a couple weeks out before we can get you squeezed in. But we're definitely trying to help everybody we can.
Dogs and cats with that?
Dogs and cats,
okay.
Yes.
Okay, so just call the Humane Society and they'll get you more info on that. Let's talk about the pets a little bit.
Okay.
If you had to pick, are you a cat person? Are you a dog person?
So
Everything person?
As I age, I am totally more of a dog. I love all animals.
Me too.
But I have cats at home, and they get on my nerves daily.
They're little stinkers.
They're so rotten. And I've got one cat that he's been an inside cat his whole life, and he is just determined to get outside. So we've been letting him kind of roam the yard. And now it's very much like, when I'm leaving in the morning, he's like, "I'll see you.
I'll be back when the street lights come on."
Yeah, and then he shows up, or he'll come in for 5 minutes and then be right at the door, ready to go back out again. And he's living his best life, and luckily he's sticking right in our area. And I had a scary experience. We were actually leaving. This is in the middle of the winter, and he darted out the door. And so. But we're on our way out of town. We get back. It's like, midnight. I'm outside with a flashlight because it's really cold out trying to find him. And I'm like, okay, I'm sure he's found somewhere warm. I'll come in. I'll start fresh in the morning. And I come inside and I hear meowing. He had found his way. Apparently, there's a hole I need to plug in our crawl space.
I have a funny story.
And he found his way in there. And I had an access panel cut to get to like plumbing and stuff. And I go and I open that up and I start calling for him. And next thing I know, there's this little cobweb cat come crawling up through the wall. And I'm like, oh, you're such a monster. I'm just.
We had a cat. When I was a kid, we just had a cat show up. And I grew up in the country. So cats sometimes just do that. They show up. We named her Blackjack. And Blackjack was an indoor-outdoor cat who did almost the exact same thing. She knew how to get in and out herself because she crawled through the attic. And as long as the attic door, when you got to the bottom and the stairs was open, she was good. She was the easiest cat. She went, she came back. She just did what she wanted. She loved it, though. And we loved her. She loved popcorn. It's such a strange thing. But, yeah, everybody has these kinds of great stories about their pets. And we want to keep encouraging folks to keep doing these stories and to keep adopting because that's where the bond comes in. There's so many special connections.
Yep. There really is. Thinking back to some of the stories we get, there's sometimes they all start to blend together, but there are some really personal ones. I actually took a dog home. This was about 15 years ago, and his name was Tank. He was a Brazilian Mastiff, and If you guys have never seen those, Google them. They're gorgeous. They're not for everybody.
They're big.
They're very big, and they have a little bit of a their temperament is different. They bond really tightly with their family, and they are very wary of everyone around them. So you have to be very careful with socializing and things like that.
Big protectors of children, I think,
Right.
if I remember. Yeah.
But they are. But he had come into the shelter, and we'd adopted him out, and then the person that adopted him just gave him away, and they didn't know to who. We got him as a stray like 8 months later, and he was just skin and bones. I mean, you could count every rib. You could see his hip bone sticking
Did he
through.
remember you?
He did. And the thing was, I was gonna take him home. I was gonna get him healthy enough to bring back in for adoption. And then about the first day, I took him home, and I brought home one of those like canopy beds for him to lay on, and he was laying on that, and I was sitting on the floor next to him, and like just all his strength, he scooted down and he plopped his head on my lap. And
Poor baby.
I was like, damn it,
All
he
right.
can't go back now.
I'm sorry. You're Irish now, Tank.
Yeah.
That's such a great dog name, too.
Yeah, and it really fit him, and he sadly passed away about 10 years ago. I love big dogs, but the bigger the dog, the shorter the lifespan. So
Generally, I mean, that's pretty, yeah. I mean, what a great pet to have had. And I always like to say the best way to fail is to foster fail.
right.
I mean, if you're going to fail, that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, I try not to look at it like a foster fail. I'm like, hey, this is a successful adoption.
I think that's what people are like, well, I have failed at it. I'm like, that's so great.
Right, yeah.
I love that so much. I have a very wonderful friend who started walking dogs just during COVID and then found the sweetest dog, Gareth. And Gareth was like a community dog and the best dog ever. And she gave him the best last years of his life.
Yeah.
On the planet, and I was heartbroken when Gareth went over the Rainbow Bridge, and she was too. Great dog. I think sometimes people think, oh, I'm going to the shelter. Like, these are bad dogs. They're not. They're not bad dogs. They're not bad cats. It's just bad circumstances.
Right. That's the one of the things that that I'm able to keep doing this for all these years is you kind of have to got to develop a thick skin. And just remember that you're usually seeing these animals on their worst day.
Yeah.
They are separated from their family. They've lost their loved ones. They're lost. They don't know where they're at, and they just need somebody to kind of like be like, we got you for a minute,
Just hang out near them, right?
Yep.
And I mean, you think about that if it were a human. Obviously, you'd give it time and space to acclimate, and sometimes that's what it takes when you adopt a pet too. So let's talk about who you have in the shelter right now. You got like cats, dogs.
So we're doing pretty good on cats as far as we have our cat cafe. If you guys have not been to our cat cafe, come check it out. We shut down for about a month over the wintertime and remodeled and expanded the colony, so there's more cats in there.
Yay!
I don't want to say they're the cream of the crop because all of our cats are great, but those are usually the friendlier ones, the ones that are like a lot of the staff will be like, this cat is so friendly. And every time I go to open the cage, she's right out here. She's rubbing in my face. They're like, this will be a great cafe cat. And then those kind of make their way over there. And we do have some cats that are like, they don't dig other cats.
Not cafe cats. That's okay.
No, they're still great cats, but they don't want to live with other cats. And so they get their own private suite.
I like that. I like that. And I imagine they do too. How about dogs? Who are we looking at for dogs?
We got a lot of great dogs right now. There's one that's the one that sticks out in my mind, which I think she might be getting adopted either today or tomorrow. But her name is Chips. So
Chips.
Yeah, it was a brother and sister, and they were Fish and Chips. And we catch a lot of flack for the names we give dogs.
Every time I look, I'm like, no, these are the best names ever. Fish and Chips.
People got to remember though, we see so many animals coming through that our system goes back, our animal management system goes back almost as far as I do. Like it was like implemented a year before I started.
Oh.
And so when you search a name, every dog that's ever had that name pops up. So if you search the name Bella, you'll get 10 pages of Bellas.
Bella's a popular one.
Spot or Duke or something like that. Bear is a big one. So we try and that way we're not like searching forever if we have to look up information on an animal. So we get weird names sometimes. Sometimes it's like it's a Harry Potter litter of kittens, or we just did popcorn. We had these little kittens come into the shelter, and they were a tad feral. So they're totally like they're young enough that you can kind of force love them, and then they'll be great cats. but upon intake, they were very wild, and they came in a cardboard box, and the box got opened, and then the kittens popcorned out. So there's Orville
Oh,
Redenbacher,
stop it.
um,
Horrible.
Newman's Own. I'm literally on my phone like Googling popcorn brands. There's a cute little one named Boom Chicka Pop or something like that.
That's so cute. So those kitties are available. Now, you started talking about a dog that you thought might get
Oh,
adopted today.
oh, fish. Yeah, thank you
Fish.
for. Yeah, see, I can
Chips.
go off or chips. Fish
Chips.
and Chips were the brother and sister, and she is just the sweetest little thing. I think she may have a little pity in her. She's one of those dogs that when you look at it, you're like, I don't know what this is, you know.
Yes.
And sometimes you'll like Google Lens and say, hey, what? Let's see what Google tells me.
A little mix there, yeah.
And but she's got a cute little like her face comes to a point, and I think Google Lens said she might be like a blackmouth cur mix with a bunch of different things, but she's got like little short legs, and she's just an absolute doll. And we had occasionally we'll get people that stop in, and they might not necessarily be interested in adopting, but if we have time and they want to see a dog, we'll bring out a dog for them to meet. And the lady came in, she had a kid with her, and so I'm like, oh, Chips, you know, she just got back. She went for spay neuter or for her spay, and when she came back, and she was just a little down, so I brought her out, and she just loved that family. Just went over and I heard it in the mic when I turned my head away. So she just loved and was like just cuddling with the family, and like not the right family for her, but a lot of people have been showing interest in her, and some people have been coming and visiting like every day. Which, speaking of which, that just I can segue into
Keep segueing. I like it.
I don't know if everybody's aware of this. We have a dog day out program.
Ooh.
So we have dogs at the shelter that are. They do have to meet eligibility requirements. They have to be already spayed or neutered, microchipped, and rabies vaccinated. But basically, you come in, you fill out a quick form. You give us a copy of your driver's license, and you can check them out like a library book for the day. Take them out for a walk on the trail near the shelter. You can drive and go get a pup cup. We've had a lot of adoptions come through this too.
I bet you have.
They'll come and they'll take the dog out, and they'll come back. Sometimes they don't come back. They'll call and finish over the phone. They're like, we don't even want to come back to the shelter.
I think I'm going to keep this one.
Yeah. and that is always a possibility. We can do all of your paperwork over the phone, email you everything. We try and make everything as painless as possible.
Yeah, that's great. So dogs, cats, those are the animals we normally think are at a shelter. Do you have any other types of animals here?
We get a lot of rabbits.
Okay.
And we're working with the House Rabbit Society, and they're going to help us to make sure we have a good standard of living for these rabbits when they come in. What we had done previously is we didn't really have a good setup for them. We had small cages, and luckily they usually get adopted pretty quickly, so they didn't have to stay there long. But our setup was not ideal. So they're helping us kind of revamp our system. We're going to have foster homes that have good setups for rabbits, and then when the rabbits come in, hopefully they won't even spend an hour at the shelter. They'll just be there and then into the foster home.
How often do you have pets that come in that need to go to a foster right away? Is that fairly common?
This time of year it is. We get a lot of kittens, and kittens have to be like a certain age before they can be adopted legally. Like 8 weeks is like the state law.
Really?
And so
why is that?
I think it has to do with how like they should.
Spaying and neutering type of.
It's in that realm, but it's also like that's they need to be with their mom up to that point too.
That makes sense. That's the obvious answer, Jessica.
Right. But so that they come in and we can't legally adopt them out, so they go into a foster home because they're going to do better in a home versus in the shelter with we put them in a cage. They're next to this cat that's got an upper respiratory infection and sneezing, and then the poor kittens are sick, and so we try and get those into a foster home as fast as possible. And we've got a lot of great fosters that we can call, and at the drop of a hat we'll come pick up a litter of kittens.
That's nice.
We got a couple that will take care of puppies, and God bless them, because
puppies, man.
are fun to look at.
They're so cute. It's like a baby. You're like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, you're so beautiful. Here you go, back to your mom and dad.
Yeah,
It's like a
exactly.
puppy.
Yeah. They're adorable to pick up and play with,
Hmm.
and then you see a whole group of them, and then they eat, and then they mess, and then you're like, that person's a saint.
Oh, look at this, another puppy mess. Yeah. Do you get litters of puppies very often?
It kind of comes and goes. Sometimes we get, we'll get like a whole swath of them. It's around springtime. This is the time to start getting puppies. But there was a couple years ago where like we didn't see. I think we saw like 2 litters the whole year,
Really?
and then occasionally like 1 or 2 puppies would drop in, and then like the following year, I don't know what changed, but it was like within a month span we took in 3 different litters,
Wow.
and yeah, so it's just there's no rhyme nor reason to it. It just we deal with what we have when we have it.
Yeah, I bet. I bet. And I mean, obviously there's things to do to make sure that your dogs and cats are safe out
Mhm.
there when they're hanging out outside. And obviously, we recommend to do those things
Yep.
because not only does it keep your pet safe, but it keeps everybody else's pets safe too.
Mhm.
Yep. So make sure you talk to the Humane Society, getting all the right things done for your pets. Spay, neuter, microchipping is important.
Oh, microchipping is very important. Um, it's surprising the amount of animals that we can get home with microchipping. Like when I first started years ago, microchipping was relatively new. And so when you heard that beep when you scanned a stray dog come in, you were ecstatic because that was such a rare thing. And now we're still happy, but it's not as rare. It's like
Hmm.
probably I'd say 75% of the dogs that come in as stray, we're able to at least find a chip,
Yay.
and most of the time that leads back home.
Hmm.
Um, Sometimes you'll get a hold of the owner and they're like, "Oh, I gave that dog to someone," and
Oh.
then we have to spend some time tracking down.
Hmm.
So we have all these like websites and stuff we use where it's like, okay, we know the dog was found in this
Hmm.
area. This person's name matches the microchip. They live near this area. That's probably the right person. Our phone number is not any good, so let's try this number that's
Hmm.
on this website. So that's something important too. Is keep that information up to date. Um, if you move, change your phone number, anything
Sure.
like that. Most microchip companies will charge a fee, but there's kind of a workaround with that. Call the shelter. We update it in our system, and then every night at midnight it updates in their system.
Haha.
So call us, costs nothing,
That's nice.
and even if it takes a minute to get into their system, we'll have the correct information in our system that we
Okay.
can always find.
So let's talk to folks. We know that getting a puppy or getting a dog or a kitty or a cat, that it's a big commitment. It's a
Mhm.
big time commitment. And we want people to be very ready for those commitments when they
Mhm.
come to the shelter to look for a pet.
Right. Yeah, there's one thing I recommend is get one of those dog breed books. Those are so great in telling you what like personalities of
Hmm.
animals, and it's not an across the board thing because we get a lot of mixes, and with a mix, you don't know which breed is going to have the dominant personality, um, but it can give you a general idea.
Hmm.
You know, there are several breeds out there that I know are too smart for me. They are like anything border collie.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, they need a job. They
Hmm.
need something to do. Otherwise, they're going to get bored,
Yep.
and then disassembling your couch is going to be their new game
Hmm.
while you're gone. So, um, that's like not that's a if you're like me and you want to sit on the couch and watch
Hmm.
TV, that a border collie is not the dog
No,
for you.
definitely not.
But with that being said, a mastiff might be because
Yeah.
people think oh, it's a great big dog. It'd be horrible in an apartment. Most of them are so lazy.
Okay, so other big dogs, Mastiff. I feel like I heard that about Great Danes too. Is that they're just little bums.
Yeah,
They like laying on the couch.
yeah. A lot of them are just like they just want a place to chill and they want to be by their people.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a big couch, they will take up that spot and
Yep.
lean against you,
Yep.
make it hard for you to breathe sometimes. But
No personal space.
right,
Big dogs, small dogs. You have a real variety of all sorts of
Mhm.
different sizes. So you mentioned like folks come in and you're not quite sure what the breed is and they want to do a little bit more research. How do you handle that?
So we can do so if someone comes in and meets an animal and they're not quite sure, we a lot of times offer that doggy day out program.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we're like you can take them out for a day. You can take them home and see how they do, and if they jive in your family. Um, we can hold for up to 24 hours. So if
Okay.
you need that time to think, maybe you just want to. It does really. I've recently experienced this. Sleeping on it overnight is a good thing
Yeah.
because I recently had someone. I don't want to say how many animals I have because people are going to be like, it's not uncommon in the shelter world.
Listen,
Okay.
we work with a lady at Solidarity who works down, helps out with the Tipton Humane Society. And I don't want to tell how many pets she has. They're all cats, and there are a lot of them.
Yeah.
Yep, but she loves it.
Let's just say that the number that I was at with my dogs, I was like, I'm never going past this number again. It's manageable, and everybody has a buddy, so that's a good
6.
thing. That's my number now.
Okay.
I was at 5. I was like, I'm not going past 5.
Okay, so my mom, I'm number 4 of 5. She always said, I wish I would have had one more so then everybody had somebody to ride on the roller coaster with. And that's what you're doing, making
Yeah.
sure everybody has a bud.
Yeah, that's what I tell myself.
So
yeah.
what are their names? Let's talk about them.
So we have I'll start with the order that we got them in.
Okay.
That's not necessarily the age order, but our first one is Mojo Jojo. He is a little pug chihuahua mix. And he is, so my girlfriend and I, it was a really sad thing. The dog she'd adopted from the shelter, like when we first met, had passed away very suddenly. And he was a little pug mix as well. And so I'm at work one day, and she was just distraught. And I had seen her on her phone looking at pugs on Adopt a Pet and things like that. And so somebody called and said, I've got this little pug. We need to surrender it. And I'm like, get it to the shelter now. So we got it into the shelter. I took him home the same day. And he is our biggest jerk.
Mojo Jojo?
Yes. I jokingly say he never had to do any time.
Oh, I bet not.
Everybody else in the shelter, or everybody else in the family, had spent time at the shelter. So I said he doesn't appreciate his life because he never saw that shelter side of it. He just went straight home the same day. So
does he run the roost? I mean, he's in charge.
he thinks he is. He's
How much does he weigh?
he is probably 20 pounds.
20 pounds. He's not your biggest though.
No.
Okay.
No. And then we have Bobber.
Bobber.
He is a full-blooded pug. He is my guy. He is he's about 11 years old now, so he's his whole chest and face is white now. He was a solid black pug before, and he was, oddly enough, he was abandoned at the Motel 6.
Oh.
And so I used to, I don't do this anymore, but I used to just kind of because my girlfriend is an even bigger dog person than I am. I used to take, anytime we'd get a cute dog in, I would take a selfie with it and send it to her just to kind of rub in, be like, yeah, this is what I get to do today. And so I sent her the picture of that, of Bobber, and she's like, how many days until you can bring that dog home? And he had just come in, so it was 5 days. And so what I would do is I would go in the shelter in the morning. This is way back at the old shelter. I would unhook his kennel. He would follow me to my desk, and he'd sit with me all day. And then I took him home. And he's just, I don't know, he's his own thing. He does he's not like the other dogs. He's just kind of very chill. At one point, I'm currently the adoption manager, but I used to be like the outreach coordinator, and I'd visit schools and stuff, and he would be who I would take.
Oh, sure.
So he was very great with that. He also was kind of like we have a program where we visit nursing homes, and they're all, you can imagine, like the dogs in the shelter are not necessarily ideal for that because we're still learning their personalities.
Sure. Yep.
But all the ones that go visit the nursing homes are like staff-owned dogs that, we know they're sweet. We know they're going to be able to be handled. And Bobber has since retired from that, but he was kind of like one of the first ones to be part of that program. Then we go to Mossberg, who was he was a trick. He came to us at the shelter, a group of puppies, middle of winter, like right before a really bad cold snap, and they were left in a box in an alley.
Oh.
And he was fluffy. He had big giant paws, and he kind of looked a little bit like a Newfie. And I've always wanted a Newfoundland. And my girlfriend's like, "Oh, you can." She goes, "You can cash in your Newfie card. We can take him home." And then he got tall and skinny, and is not a newfie at all.
What is he?
He's mostly golden,
Okay.
golden retriever, and then 15 other things. We were lucky to be part of a DNA study at the shelter, and they let us do our own
fun.
dogs too. And he made me question my ability to guess a dog's breed. He is so different than once he was full grown. I was like, okay, I know he's not a newfie, but what is he exactly? So he kind of looks like an English Spaniel a little bit. Different things. I thought I might have got stuck with a border collie at one point because he's black with the white
border
blaze.
collies. We had a border collie growing up. Yep.
I'm not talking trash about border collies.
Just don't want them in a place where they don't have room to exercise.
They are just not for me because I'm not smart enough for a border collie.
You have to work with them so much.
Yeah, they require more work than I have.
I want a kind of a bum.
Right. Yeah. That's why Bobber is like my perfect dog. He wants the comfiest spot on the couch. Back to Mossberg. He is 50 pounds soaking wet, so not anywhere near a newfie, and whatever his weird conglomeration of breeds. He is what he is, but he's a great dog. Like he's our smartest, so I can't complain too much. He also is, I am second fiddle completely. He was supposed to be my dog, and he is 100% my girlfriend's dog. If she gets up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, he follows with her. If I do it, it's like, may the odds be ever in your favor. I hope you make it back safely.
And that's just 3 of the 6 dogs that Eddie owns with the Kokomo Humane Society. Eddie, I know that there are a lot of people watching this thinking, okay, maybe I don't have room for a cat or a dog or a rabbit, but I would like to help. We've talked about the Pet for a Day program, right? Or people can come walk dogs at the shelter?
They sure can. So with our volunteer program, there is some training involved. If you want to come to the shelter and walk animals, you do have to. There are certain age restrictions as far as we're not going to hand a 5-year-old a leash and be like, go to town. But so there is some training that comes with that. But the Dog Day Out program, you're not in an unsafe environment. There's not going to be like a dozen dogs that might walk past you at any time. So we're a little more lenient with that. But when you're going to be in the shelter, is some training to go through. But we try and make it as painless as possible.
That's great. So looking for dog walkers, volunteers, and of course donations. I mean, it costs money to keep the shelter doors open.
Yes, it does.
A lot of money.
A lot of money. One of the things since we're doing so much more medical and stuff for people, and I do have a good story for that too. Okay. This just happened recently. Is we had a gentleman call, and his dog was having a lot of discharge. And so he was worried that there was something medically wrong, but he couldn't afford to take her to a full service vet. So he was worried he was going to have to surrender to us, and so that we would be able to take care. And then, so one of our people talked to the director, Karen, and said, "Hey, can we help this guy out?" And she's like, "Well, let's see what we can do for him." So we got him in there. We got his dog spayed. Not luckily, but turns out she had pyometria. So she had an infection in her uterus.
Oh, you just got her fixed right up.
Yeah.
Right?
And so she is now back home. She was in the shelter for less than a day, and she's back home with the medicine she needs. And, shout out to all the great vets and everybody at the shelter who is, facilitating this, because sometimes everything has to line up in the right order. We, a vet available this day and things like that.
And they have regular jobs, the vets.
Right. A lot of them will come on their day off.
That's so nice.
Or on their lunch hour. It'll be they're like, I have a lunch hour, I can squeeze in one spay.
Wow.
And I'm like, that's
please.
amazing.
Yeah, thank you. Please go.
On my day off, I am vegged out on the couch. Yep, I'm worn out from the week, and
it's the reason we're not vets, I guess.
Right?
All right. And if anybody wants to learn more about the Kokomo Humane Society, how they can volunteer, how they can donate, what's the best place for us to reach out? Should we call? Should we check out your website, Facebook?
I would start with the website.
Okay.
That has all the information you need. It is pretty simple to follow. There's drop down tabs. So if your animal's missing, there's a tab that says Get Help, and that will take you to our animal control and our lost and found animals. If you're looking to adopt, you can click there. It's split up into dogs, cats, and small animals,
Mm-hmm.
and also what the application is on there.
Okay.
And a lot of people will just drop in. We do the application first, and I'd like to comfort people and say we don't charge an application fee.
Mm-hmm.
There's no commitment to adopt. You don't have to leave with an animal. You're just simply getting pre-approved. What we've had before in the past is so with the Kokomo Humane Society doing animal control, we do sometimes have they also do cruelty investigations and things like that. So we have had people come in and go and look at a dog, and we've spent an hour showing them animals and things like that, and then when we get to their name, realize they were investigated a few years ago.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of why we're doing the pre-applications. Yeah. So it's not anything.
Let's keep the pets safe.
Yeah, we're not trying to judge anybody, and we're not trying to we're not running credit reports on people.
You'd know if they were.
We're just making sure that we're sending our animals to good homes. So a lot of times I'll have people come in, and we get a lot of out of town adopters coming in, and I'll run their name real quick, and I'm like, look, you're not in our system for anything bad, which is good. So you're going to be approved.
Right.
Yeah. We might have to make sure it's the right animal for you.
Sure.
That's something that recently changed in the last year or so is we do have a very stringent policy as far as placing stray dogs with children.
Okay. That makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
So we've had some dogs that have been great in the shelter, and then they get into the home, and then they settle in, and then they're more of their personality comes out, and turns out they're not really a great fit. So
the nice thing I think about when you look at pets on the website with the Humane Society is there's generally a little description.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it says, Poppy is super fun, happy, would be great with other dogs. Mm-hmm. And then there's old Grumpstiltskins who doesn't really want to be around dogs, cats, or kids. So it's finding the fit for you and for the dog. So that's great. So many great things happening at the Kokomo Humane Society. Check out the website, Facebook, and get over to the Humane Society and maybe adopt, walk, find a kitten, anything that's perfect for your family. Eddie, thank you so much for joining us today.
Can I throw one more thing in
One more thing. It's because you asked nicely.
I told you I could go and go and go.
And also I can too, so.
We just recently installed a public use microchip scanner.
Okay.
It's outside the front of our building. So if it's after hours and you find a stray dog, you can go. There is the scanner. We keep it charged, so it's always ready to go. There are little papers that you can take and write down the information.
That's great.
And where to contact to get that microchip information, because all those microchip companies are 24-hour service. So that's available. So if you get an animal, you don't necessarily have to house it overnight. You don't have to find somewhere to take it. Bring it to the shelter, scan it. Hopefully you can get it back home before it ever has to enter the shelter.
Yep. Takes everybody to make sure that the streets are safe for pets. For people. That's right. Eddie from the Kokomo Humane Society again. Thanks for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
That will wrap up the Ripple Effect podcast for today. I'm Jessica Ausbrook from Solidarity Community Federal Credit Union. Thanks for watching.